Welcome back to Fridgestuck, the show where we talk about the possible facts and illusions you might not have thought about from Homestuck. Today will be the last Fridgestuck for 2018, and it's all about fan favorite Tavros Nitram. Our bronze-blooded boy had his name suggested by possibly two MSPA forum goers, Solaris, with some slight editing, and Peribob. Tavros is the Greek word for bull, and its pronunciation is the same as the modern Greek name for Taurus, his zodiac sign. He tends to show some qualities of bulls, such as his long horns, and that his weapon of choice leads him to literally charge his opponents, though maybe the peaceful Ferdinand is a more apt reference. Coincidentally, Tavros' name is also one letter off from Davros, the wheelchair-bound villain and creator of the Daleks, from Doctor Who.
He's more machine rather than man.
Oops, mixing up too many IPs. Let's move on. His last name, Nitram, could possibly be seen as two references, maybe even three. One well-known aspect often mentioned is that Nitram, spelled backwards, is the name Martin. It's my personal belief that this Martin is the six-letter shortening of the word Martian, linking with Tavros' nature as an alien to our Earthbound kid characters. But it turns out there might be another reason as well, linking to a real-world incident. Operation Taurus was a prosecution that was planned by Ireland's police force, the RUC, against soon-to-be Deputy First Minister of Northern Ireland, Martin McGuinness, due to many suspecting he was a spy for MI6. This prosecution was never carried out, however, and no charges were ever made. Nitram could also derive from the word nitrates, ions found commonly in fertilizers, in cured meat from animals like cows, and in the very air we breathe. While a daily amount of nitrates in your diet can be beneficial to your overall health, too much of it can be lethal for both humans and livestock. An overabundance of nitrates added to groundwater also causes interesting effects to the aquatic system. It causes algae blooms that strip the water source of most of its oxygen, and it can cause a disease in freshwater fish known as brown blood disease. Tavros' typing quirk of reversed case and the use of many commas is reflective of his uncertainty, stammering, and low self-esteem. As I mentioned in the second Ancestor episode, creator Andrew Hussey says that if Tavros were more confident, he'd replace his I's with ones, which ties him back to his ancestor Rufio's typing quirk. And it links Tavros to his part of his session's Tick-Tock Break Heads code. Hussey states that it's also a reference to Tavros' love of the Peter Pan mythos, as the tick references the ticking clock dwelling within the crocodile that constantly hunts the villainous pirate, Captain Hook. If only we had characters associated with ominous clocks, and/or missing a hand! His chum handle is Adios Toreador. A toreador, aka torero or matador, is a Spanish bullfighter. Specifically, it's the old-fashioned term for those who kill bulls while on horseback. Fitting, considering that Tavros and his ancestor have songs with Spanish chords. And Andrew Hussey confirmed that Tavros is Latino? Very good troll, Andrew. 10 out of 10. Tavros being likened to a bullfighter connects with the fact that he accidentally killed his bull-like Lucis, Tinkerbull, with his mount, the wheelchair, and that he uses a lance as a weapon. Also, am I really supposed to take it as coincidence that the first lines of dialogue we get from Tavros is him trying to troll the kid with the red text? Really? Really? The prefix of his chum handle can be seen as foreshadowing to two events: the loss of his legs and his inevitable death, both at the hands of his love interest, Vriska Serket. Adios indeed, Toreador. Going back a little, Tavros is the only character to wield Lancekind as a striped specibus weapon. Snowman, the troll's black queen, also uses a lance, an oddity considering that Snowman served as Vriska's exile, and the dice-throwing hearts boxcars was Tavros's. Tavros somehow does end up with Snowman's weapon before getting stranded on the meteor. The more confusing of Tavros's lances was his alchematized fetus spear, which was made of the stuffed animals used for his fetus spawn card game. How does it do damage to anything? Can we also agree that fetus spawn is a downright disturbed concept for a card game? But we'll talk about that later. Tavros Nitram's ancestor was the Summoner, the post-scratch version of his ancestor, Rufio Nitram. Inferred to be one of the last trolls to make it to Alternia, we learn about him through the lens of Mindfang's journal, the same as Darkleer, Dulscar, and Redglare. However, Mindfang's mention of him is unique in the fact that she learned of his existence and life events by peering into the future with the help of the magic cue ball. The Summoner, named after his ability to commune with an army of various creatures, was a member of the Condescension's Cavalreapers, mounted soldiers who are suspected to be solely comprised of Bronzebloods. He eventually became leader of the band through his skill and bravery, and possibly because the Condes thought he was cool. After revealing that he had sprouted a pair of wings reminiscent of the troll's god tier variant, his soldiers pledged their loyalty to him, even when the Summoner began a revolt to overthrow the Highbloods. It's about this time that Mindfang is suspected to join him in the picture, since our Kobold Corsair reveals that the Summoner not only becomes her mate sprit, but also is the one who kills her. She probably would have wanted to get close to anyone who had Pyral Spite under their control, even if it was fated to happen. The Summoner's revolution was eventually squashed, and he's insinuated to have been killed, but it seems that it was more successful an attempt than expected, as the Condescension decreed afterwards that every troll who reached adult age was either enlisted into her imperial army of conquest, or was culled on the spot. This resulted in Alternia's surface population being made up of mostly young trolls and their Lucis guardians, with the occasional visit from the Handmaid or Doc Scratch. The Summoner is one of my favorite ancestors, purely because of how his actions shaped Alternia as we know it. His history may have been changed into myth, turning him into the Pupa Pan on this most demented version of Neverland. But his rebellious spirit seems to be living on in the hearts of the troll kids. Hiveswapped Act 1 has shown that a small rebellion was in the making on Alternia, thanks to the efforts of a bronze-blooded tetrarch named Damek. His Lucis is even well known for choosing potential leaders, and now after adopting Joey Claire, we're left to wonder if a human girl will be able to face the heiress, bettering the lives of the trolls on Alternia, or not. As mentioned in previous episodes, Alternian trolls, whether by accident or design, end up mirroring or completing the leftover business of their ancestors, and Tavros is no different. Able to befriend an entire army's worth of ghosts just by being himself would make the Summoner proud, even if he got murdered by his ex's descendant. Bullseye! Tavros has even stated that Rufio helped him with the self-esteem post-mortem, solely because he happened to be his ancestor. Proud of both of them. Let's move on. You want disturbing implications from the comic's soundtrack? Yeah, you do. In the Alternia-bound album, there's a short, inconsequential song called Fetus Spawn, Go!, which parodies the battle themes from Nintendo's Pokemon video game series. However, if you listen to it carefully around the 46-second mark, you might hear some clever foreshadowing to Soundpage Wake. Toby Fox arranged this, did you say? No way! Tavros' planet, the Land of Sand and Zephyr, is arguably the most important and visited land in Homestuck. I personally thought it was cute that the term Zephyr fits with Tavros' personality, but now I realize that every time a character walks through a desert after Cascade and optionally interacts with a photorealistic horse, they're walking through a memory of Losaz in the Dream Bubbles. The memory of Losaz was also the location of the battle with Lord English in Soundpage Collide. It's probably because Tavros spent a lot of time in-game on his planet, and maybe the location added a bit of actual confidence to his actions. Oh look, Tavros' house has a little windmill. Wait, Spanish-style music, a lance, windmill. Oh, Don Quixote, what are you doing here? Created in 1605 by Cervantes, hold up, let me try this correct. El ingenioso hidalgo Don Quixote de la Mancha is a fictional character from the book of the same name. In the story, nobleman Alonso Quijano, after reading one too many sword and sorcery fantasy books, decides to travel around the Spanish countryside on a fully delusional one-person LARP session. I'd count his sidekick Sancho in this, but he's not delusional, just kind of simple. In his quest, the nobleman changes his name to Don Quixote. He unknowingly interacts with people who are ironically way more interesting than himself, and he, in his most infamous scene, fights some windmills because he believes that they're giants. In more current interpretations, Don Quixote is seen as a tragic hero, inspiring people to go out there and chase your crazy dream, Mew. But the book is more of a parody on Cervantes' part towards chivalric romance books of that era. The book is really fascinating, and I have a link in the video description to Overly Sarcastic's discussion of it. Tell them LaureledEevees sent you there. I mean, Red and Blue won't have a clue who the heck I am, but I just find it polite to give my name after dumping a bunch of Homestucks on their door, in the world's strangest and most well-mannered ding-dong ditch. But finish this video first, please. Let's continue. Now, one might question why Tavros is such a nice troll. One possibility was brought up back when Tavros was first introduced, that he doesn't get a lot of sleep, because his horns keep him from fitting into his recupercoon. In fact, Kanaya, another one of Alternia's kinder trolls, is also mentioned as not sleeping much when she was younger. So maybe sleeping outside your recupercoon does create significant change to a troll, just like Hive Swap suggested. But I still think this theory is a bit weak. For an alternate explanation for his unusual kindness, one TV troper suggested that Tavros has some form of Asperger's syndrome. Yikes. Okay. I'm no expert on the subject, and autism can vary in many different levels of severity and symptoms affecting a person's social interaction and language development. But I see this particular theory as being a bit blown out of proportion, if not problematic. I just see Tavros as an individual who has social anxiety, but occasionally rises above it and isn't afraid to be himself or share his opinion, and that he has a more Beforean sensibility, rather than Alternian. Not that I have an issue with people identifying Tavros as autistic representation in the comic, it's more that I don't like the term being thrown about without more compelling evidence. People on the spectrum, you are loved. Now go make the world a better place. We have reached the point of our time here where we get to talk about class-spect theories, and this one has a bit more personal meaning to me. This draws back from the Dave Strider episode, when I was humorously taking the whole class-spect quiz to hyperbolic levels of parody. I seriously don't care that much about canon class-spect placement. I mean, I gave myself a fake god-tier title so I could have a punny name. Anywho, I mentioned in that episode that I took a class-spect quiz that set me as a breath player for most of the results. You might have wondered what my class was. Well, occasionally I got Sylph of Breath, but more often than not, I got Page of Breath. That's right, I am Tavros Nitram. I mean, I do have a good amount of social anxiety, and I love me some Pokemon. Now, we talked about the Page class in the previous episode, that pages take a really long time to get good, which Tavros is a good example of since it takes him almost to the end of everything to become a friend leader when gathering the Ghost Army, and that pages are most likely to have imaginary friends, spurring them to greatness. I was also corrected when saying that the page class was most likely to be male only, since Calliope said that gendered classes are a thing, but Hussey debunked that notion back in 2014. Sorry, I forget sometimes what an unreliable narrator the Homestuck creator can be. The breath aspect was hardly talked about in previous episodes, and though Tavros never fully manifested the breeze powers, he did act very much within his aspect's typical disposition. According to the aspect quiz, breath players are notably prone to being accidental leaders and motivators, inspiring others to follow their example, but they can sometimes be flighty or fair-weather friends. This makes them the natural opposite in approach to those of the blood aspect, who will purposefully and charismatically get in your face about how important this movement is and how much they're in the sinking ship for the long haul, mother trucker! Breath players belittle their own part in their stories most of the time, mainly because they were just doing their own thing and can't believe that they did anything to warrant hero praise, even though heroism is a natural attribute on their life's journey. I personally agree with that. I don't see anything I do as affecting others in their... Huh? Do I really have all these subscribers? I never thought that a real-world background character like myself would even get this far. Thank you so much. I need to plan an actual thank you video for once. I'm such a forgetful sod! And the last fact for Tavros Nitram is... Fetus-Spawn is Alternia's version of Pokemon, mixed with elements of the Aliens franchise. One of Tavros' songs, Bronze Page, is clearly an opening theme for a Fetus-Spawn anime. At least it is initially. Bronze Page actually does a great job foreshadowing Tavros' rise to greatness in the Battle of Sound Page Collide. Take a listen.
There is a land that I know, it is real and not just make-believe. When we're friends, we'll defend one another to the end. You never have to leave. A boy with the love in his heart, holding by the courage in his soul. We'll fight for the rights of the fairies and the sprites, hero among trolls.
I'm just so proud of him. Wait. You never have to leave? What the hell does that mean? Can one actually leave the dream bubbles willingly? Maybe it has to do with... What did that black hole that dead tier Calliope created? What did that do to everyone? This has been sitting in the back of my mind for years, and I want answers! Thank you guys so much for watching this Fridgestuck episode for Tavros Nitram. I hope you enjoyed. Is there a fact I missed? Is there a character or concept that you'd like to see? Leave it down in the comments below and it might end up on the show someday. Be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend, and maybe check out my Patreon. And I will see you all next time. Bye!
There's a good boy.
Hey,
Hey, now that's a boy that I could get into.
that's a perfect boy.
Let me see this perfect boy.
Justin's special boy.
My two special boys. Can you move faster? My perfect boy.